Alright guys, welcome back to Beat the Game. This is Steve, and it's time to talk about the first hero of the second wave. That's right, we're going to talk about Scott Lang, the Ant-Man. Super excited. This hero was super fun, but before we go any further, if you guys like this channel, please give it a thumbs up on this video. Help me out by subscribing, leaving comments, and all that good stuff. Alright, we're going to continue on with the Beyond the Precon series for as long as you guys enjoy it. All right, here we go. So Scott Lang, one of the most unique characters in the game, and what made him so special is because Scott Lang has two hero forms. So the next two heroes have something very, very unique, and that is double hero form. Now, let's take a look at his alter ego side. Scott Lang has a hand size of 6, 12 hit points. He is a civilian with a 3 recovery and the civilian trait that says time to unwind. Very, very thematic to Paul Rudd's character in the MCU. And a response, after you change to this form, heal a damage from Scott Lang. That's pretty cool. Now let's take a look at the Ant-Man. All right, so Ant-Man also has two hero forms, and the first one is Tiny Ant-Man. As you can see, the big fingers and the tiny ant. He's got a 5 hand size, 2 thwart, 1 attack, 2 defense. He's got the Avenger trait and the Tiny trait, which is kind of interesting, and a response called Puny Pest. After you change to this form, remove a threat from a scheme. Cool. So you change to that form, you do something, you change to alter ego, it does something else. Also, he has a giant form. So you unfold and then you flip down, and then you can make special effects. Raw, giant. And now Ant-Man, who is now in giant form, has a hand size of 4. Oh no, a hand size of 4. That right there, he's terrible. All right, a 1 thwart, 3 attack, 3 defense. He's got the Avenger trait and the Giant trait. Well, that's pretty interesting. And has a response called Giant Nuisance. After you flip to this or change to this form, deal a damage to an enemy. So that's great when you want to ping off a tough, off a minion or something like that. That can be annoying. So that is super cool. So every time you do something with Ant-Man, every time you change form, you go to Tiny, you remove threat. You go to Giant, you deal damage. So this is very, very cool. And even when you flip to alter ego, you get to heal. So that is very, very unique. So there's always a response. There's always something to do. And it feels like this character is super, super interactive. Now, some things that you might not like is, oh, Steve, I don't like opening and folding and this. I feel like I'm going to break my thing. So what you can do is you can put your hero in these Make It Shine sleeves. Self-promotion. All right. And you can also do something like this, where I found off BGG, and I can't give credit to the person because I can't remember who did it, but you make a little tiny printout of Ant-Man and a giant printout of the other one, and then you have 3 shapes, and you never have to change. You never have to unflip the card and damage it and risk damaging it. So that's a good way to preserve your card by just doing a little something like that. So that's super, super fun. I really enjoy that. All right, and I'll be using these when I talk about some of his signature cards. So Ant-Man, again, super exciting character. Always has something to do. Always feels like you're in control. And I really, really enjoy this character. And let's see why. Let's take a look at those signature cards that he has that make him amazing. So I'm just going to put him like this. Boop. All right. So the first cards we're going to talk about is his resource card. So he's got 2 copies of Pim Particles. Now, another card that has an interaction, which is awesome sauce. It says, Hero Response. After you spend this card, heal 2 damage if you're in giant form, or draw a card if you are in tiny form. So not only does it generate a resource, it replaces itself when you're tiny, and it heals you when you are in giant form. So that is just spectacular and super thematic. The Pim Particles is awesome sauce. Now, one of the coolest things about Ant-Man is he flips all the time. So it's very cool that they included 2 Flippy McFlip cards called Resize. So this says it's a 0 cost event, hero action, change to your other hero form and draw a card. So this allows you to change more than once. So we can go from tiny to giant, and then we can go back to tiny again. to make sure that we benefit from that card draw. So that is awesome. So very, very cool. The resize, go to tiny, go to giant. So start in tiny form, use resize, go to giant, deal a damage, punch for like 3, then use our change form action, which is once per turn, go back to tiny, remove a threat. So that's super good. And this resize replaces itself, so it's another card draw. So between the pin particles in tiny form and the resizes, we have 4 cards that make you draw cards. Now, let's take a look at the bread and butter of this hero. And this is the card that is going to absolutely affect your experience for this character. And this is the Ant-Man's helmet. This helmet is crucial to this character to make that experience a lot more enjoyable. And why is that? Because after you change to giant form, heal 2 damage. Awesome. And then when you switch to tiny form, you draw a card. So if you're playing resize, you're drawing a card from the resize, and then you're drawing a card because you're flipping to tiny form. Now, even better, if you spend the pin particles and you change form, it just, and you go to tiny form, you're just drawing so many cards. So I really, really like the interactions between his helmet. But that helmet, it is a key piece to his costume. And when you don't see it early in the game, your experience does change a lot. All right, let's talk about one of the most underrated cards in his kit, which is the wrist gauntlets. And it gets ignored often, and I'll tell you why in a second. But the wrist gauntlet, it says hero action. If you're in giant form, you spend 2 physical resources to stun an enemy. And hero action, if you are in tiny form, spend 2 lightning resources to confuse an enemy. So this allows you to not only control the villain, and if you do need to heal a lot, if let's say you don't have your helmet and you need to go to alter ego to get a bigger hand size, well, you can confuse the villain. So this is very, very, very useful, and it often goes underlooked and gets passed over. Why? And we'll tell you why. Because he's got a lot of cards, support cards, that are super fun. And these are his army of ants. He's got 3 copies of these, and this makes Ant-Man super duper enjoyable because these little ants, you feel like you're controlling the army. It's very cool. So we remember the names. I think it was Ulysses S. Grant. We got Antonio Banderas, and then we have Antony. So all 3 of those ants, you can find other clever names for them. I just can't think of any on the top of my head. But what they do is, you can only use them if you're in tiny form. But what they do is, you can deal the damage wherever you want. So it's 3 pings, 3 points of damage wherever you want, with no retaliate, with no consequence damage. Very, very cool. So this is a super powerful support for the Ant-Man. Love this card. And then there's one for when he goes to giant form. So the giant strengths, he's got 2 copies of those. And it says after you change to giant form, you get +1 attack until the end of the turn. Now, be advised, this +1 attack until the end of the turn is not limited to once. So if you can start your turn in alter ego, or start your turn in tiny form, switch to giant form, so you would get an attack of 5. Use your basic flip to go back to tiny form, draw a card, remove a threat, and then you would get another resize. You could change again, and then you would get another +1/+1. So you could go up to a 7 attack. Now that is just super fun. And if you want to see that kind of interaction, I have a whole deck, I think it's built around leadership, where it's Ant-Man's Super Punch, and all I do is I think I flip back and forth like 6 or 7 times, or maybe it's probably more than that. Maybe I flip like 10, 12 times, but I got my attack up to like 30 something, and then I just punch for like 30 on the villain. You can check it out in the Ant-Man playlist that you can find. All right, so there you go. So that's one of the super cool synergies. So as you can see, there's a lot of cards to put on the table, and he doesn't have a lot of support, a lot of events in his deck. It's all like things that you want to put out, and the other cards are resources. All right, here we go. So one of the cool things that you can do is his thwart event, and he's got one, but you can only do it in tiny form, is called the Hive Mind. And that little Hive Mind, it says you can only play in tiny form, and says thwart, remove 2 threat, and if you control the army of ants, and you get +1 threat removal for each army of ant you control. So 2 for an up to 5, super solid. And then finally, his last events, he's got 2 copies of, and these are another awesome card that you can do in giant form. It is called the Giant Stomp. So he's putting his foot down, and what it does is it deals a damage to each minion, and then it deals 8 damage to an enemy. So that is ultra powerful, and it got a cost of 3, and it also has the attack trait and the giant trait. So that is very, very cool. So those are his 2 big attack cards. Now, finally, we got the Wasp, and the Wasp is an aerial Avenger with 3. She's got 2 thwart, 2 attack, and when she enters play, depending on what hero size form you are, if you're tiny, she removes 2 threat, and if you are giant, she deals 2 damage. So that is cool, because when she comes into play, she either removes 4 threat or deals 4 damage, or 2 and 2. So very, very powerful ally. Like her very much. All right, there we go. So that is it for his hero kit. All right, now we're going to take a look at what he comes with the basic, his basic hero pack, which comes in leadership, and how we can improve on that to take it to the next level. All right, let's take a look at that Precon. So what's great about this Precon is there are only a few reprints, only 5 cards that are reprinted, which is the 2 first aids and the 3 double resources. So a whole slew of new cards, always exciting. All right, so let's take a look at what we have. We have 4 new allies. Stinger, which is amazing because she doesn't count towards your ally limit, which is just great. Ant-Man, an ally that you can versatility pay more or less for to see how many times you want to activate him. If you need a blocker, you pay 1 and he's just there as a blocker. You pay 2 resources. He can thwart once and then block once. So very, very versatile. Love this character. Ronan and then Giant Man, 2 extremely powerful allies for the souped up ally strategy. Very, very fun. Ally Ronan, who gets +1/+1 as soon as he gets an attachment, and then a Giant Man who gets +2 attack when he has 3 or more remaining hit points. So very, very good. Then we get the Power Glove, which you can only equip to Avenger allies, but every time your ally activates, it deals a point of damage randomly, which is great. You got the Reinforced Suit that gives two extra activations to an ally with +2 HP. You get the Moxies, which is great every time you want to change form, especially with Ant-Man, you're going to be switching forms. You get +1/+1 to all your stats. And then you get the Call for Aids, which lets you search for Avenger allies through your deck. Very cool. Then you get the Team Building Exercise, which is one of my favorite cards. Team Building Exercise, what it does, and just a little rules interaction here, is Team Building Exercise, you can play a card out of turn. So let's say you're playing in a 3-player game, and then one of the other characters, oh man, I could really use a card, and let's say you have an Avengers Mansion in hand. You can say, wait, I'm going to call for an action. I'm going to use my Team Building Exercise to reduce the cost of the next card that shares a trait type. So Avengers Mansion has the Avenger type, and then you can just cheat it into play. Even if you are, it's not your turn, and then you can make the other guy draw a card. Very cool. You can do that with allies too. Anything that shares a trait with your hero, you can reduce the cost for 1, but only once. That's very important. Now, and then finally, the Swarm Tactics, which is our first team-up card. It's amazing. You can only play it if you have Wasp and Ant-Man onto the table. So if, let's say, you're playing in a 2-player game and the other is playing Wasp but is Nadia Van Dyne, you won't be able to trigger it because you need to have Wasp and Ant-Man on the table. So very important. But yeah, if you have both characters, you get to ready your hero. What does it do? You change forms and you ready. Super good. All right. So a little bit of deck strategy here for this deck. What you want to be careful for is these Call for Aids. I know it's fun sometimes to go find an ally real quick, but if you play the Call for Aids, you're going to discard until you find an Avenger ally. There's only 5 in the deck. These 4 plus your signature ally. So you might discard your helmet, you might discard your army's advance, all that just to find an ally. It's not worth the price. So make sure that you have, before you start playing these call for aids, make sure that you have your key pieces for Ant-Man on the table. All right, that being said, how do we upgrade this Precon? All right, easy peasy. First thing, I don't think we need power gloves, too many. So 1 power glove, it's fine. You can have 2 because we're going to be playing with a couple of those allies. So get rid of a power glove. We're also going to get rid of a team building exercise. We don't need to have 3 of those. 2 is fine because there's a lot of cards that can play off the tiny and giant form. So that's very cool. So 2 in the deck is very good. And then finally, 2 call for aids. We're going to get rid of 2 of those. And what are we going to replace them by? Well, that's very easy. We're going to add a couple of inspireds here. The reason why we want to add 2 inspireds is because 1, we want to be able to make Ronin a 3/4, and then we can make him a 3/5. So these are really powerful allies once they are inspired. Not only that, with the suit and everything and the healing, we can keep him on the table forever. The third card we're going to add is going to be just a Triskelion, very easy. So we can actually have 5 allies, all of our allies on the table every turn. And then finally, we got an Avengers Mansion, just for more card draw because he already has a lot of card draw, but having more card draw is awesome sauce. So there you go. This is how I would go beyond the Precon with this. Now I'm going to offer you a little solution with Justice, and after that we're going to pass on to the heroes that can make him even more better, even if that's possible. So here's a little bonus Justice deck using only the Precon cards. We got 2 Powers of Justice, Jessica Jones and Daredevil. We got Heroic Intuition, Interrogation Room, 3 Surveillance Teams, the 3 Lay Down the Laws, which is a bonus card that was given into the Ant-Man deck. We got Mockingbird, Nick Fury, the 3 Double Resources. We got Swarm Tactics, the 2 First Aids, Avengers Mansion, Helicarrier, a Tenacity, and 2 Team Building Exercise. It's very, very simple. To lay down the laws and just you flipping back and forth is going to be able to control pretty much any threat level, even on expert, which is very, very good. You can use those surveillance teams as needed, but again, you're just looking to deck thin your deck to a maximum and then just come in with some big damage and some allies that can just do all the work for you while you just have fun flipping back and forth. All right, now on to the hero packs that make Ant-Man a champ. All right, now that you've seen a couple of decks and you want to go beyond the Precon, and what hero packs should I buy to complement Scott Lang? Well, Scott Lang is very, very fun in all the aspects, but for me, I do have a preference in protection just because I like stupid combos, but the strongest affinity for him is 100% leadership, where you can just wreck house. And one of the best leadership packs that you can buy to make him awesome is the Captain America pack. Now, the reason why is because you can use cards like Strength in Numbers, and with the Triskelion and the Avengers Tower and Stinger, you can draw up to 6 cards. That's insane. So having 4, 5, 6 allies, drawing 6 cards for 0 with the Strength in Numbers is just brutal. You can deck thin with honorary Avengers. You got some really cheap allies like Squirrel Girl and Wonder Man. You got that Avengers Tower that kind of helps with that combo. And then you got the Avengers Assemble where you can do a lot more work. So very, very fun combination here that you can start playing with Captain America. So definitely my favorite. The second one, kind of complementary to the Captain America pack, is the Rise of Red Skull box with Hawkeye. And the only reason why is the Sky Cycles, where you can have some real fun with the Strength in Numbers, but mostly because of the Earth's Mightiest Hero. Again, if you play off that little combo where you switch forms a lot, then you just have so much fun with Earth's Mightiest Hero, and then you can punch for 7, 21, and you can play this with every aspect. So this is a very cool card for Ant-Man that you should be running in most of your decks. All right, now to enforce this in protection, the Drax pack. And the reason why I like the Drax pack is There's technically only one card I really like with the Drax pack, so he gets an honorary mention, but that's Leading Blow. Again, once you're playing off that combo, so you're focusing on those giant strengths, you flip the giant form, and then you get 5 attack, so you're always sure to land a Leading Blow, and then you get to ready and then punch again, and sometimes you can do like 10, 15 damage in one turn with these Leading Blows. So that is a super fun combo with Scott Lang. All right, then let's take a look at Aggression. Well, Aggression, we're going to talk about the Waspinator, and the reason why I like Wasp is, again, she has all sorts of cool cards that really help the basics aspect. But not only that, there's a bunch of cards that help it when they flip. So Scott Lang and that... I forget the name of the dang card. What's the card? Swarm Tactics. There you go. So Swarm Tactics, you get another Wasp. So this is the Janet Van Dyne. So if you have Janet Van Dyne, you don't need to have your signature ally. You can just have this Wasp into play and still combo off with the Swarm Tactics. So 2 possibilities of Wasps in the deck. And then you get awesome the flip cards like Surprise Attack and then Perseverance if you're playing in Protection. So again, super interesting. And then finally, if you like Ant-Man and Justice, well, the pack I am definitely going to recommend is the Black Widow pack to go a little bit further. Again, you get some cool allies like Quake and Coulson, but you also get again, more permanence because, again, with Ant-Man, it's all about removing cards from his deck. You want to deck in as much as possible. And then you get cool cards like Counterintelligence and then Spycraft, and you get the Rapid Response, and then you get the like Quinn Carrier that you can combo off, again, with those team building exercises and kind of cheat them into play. So very, very fun. So that's what I like about that in this form. So Ant-Man, all in all, what an amazing hero. Super fun to play, very interactive. There's always something going on, and that's why this character is top tier in a lot of the play, in a lot of the in the community's feedback. Also, I always enjoy playing Ant-Man. He's just a fun character. You feel chill. You know, when you need to thwart, he's there to thwart. When you need to attack, he's there to attack. So guys, I hope this video was helpful. I hope you will use Scott Lang to play the game and hopefully beat the game. Ciao, ciao.